The meeting. Captain Alex stood inside the grand alien hall. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of strange burning oils. Tall alien guards with sharp armor lined the walls, their glowing eyes fixed on him. Every step he took echoed like thunder, as if the palace itself was warning him. He was just a human, one man in front of a powerful alien empire, and yet here he was, face to face with the most feared ruler of the stars. The alien queen Lyra sat on a throne made of black crystal. Her presence was commanding, her figure tall and graceful, her eyes shining like fire. People said she had ended wars with a single command and destroyed fleets with a single word. Alex's heart raced, but he forced himself to keep calm. He knew one wrong word, one wrong step, could end his life here. The guards whispered in their strange language, ready to strike if the queen ordered. Everyone waited for her to speak, but she only stared at him, silent and cold. Alex swallowed hard, thinking fast. He could not show fear, not in front of her. So instead of bowing like everyone expected, he did something bold. He smiled and said in a clear voice, "You would be a perfect wife." The hall froze. The guards stiffened, gripping their weapons. The alien ministers gasped. Some even hissed in anger. How dare a human speak so lightly to their queen? It was madness. It was suicide. But Queen Lyra did not rage. She did not order his death. Instead, she leaned forward slowly, her eyes locked on his, and then, with a voice like thunder yet calm as ice, she said, "Yes." The entire hall fell into shocked silence. The guards looked at each other, confused. The ministers shouted in protest, "Impossible, Your Majesty. He is only human." But the queen raised her hand and they fell silent. Her eyes never left Alex. Alex felt his breath catch. He had spoken as a joke, a desperate attempt to break the tension, and yet now the most powerful woman in the galaxy had just accepted. He tried to laugh, but his throat was dry. Wait, he thought, is she serious, or is this some kind of cruel test? The queen stood, her tall figure towering over him. Her gown shimmered like liquid metal, flowing with each step. She walked down the stairs of her throne slowly, each step echoing like a drum. The crowd bowed their heads in fear, but Alex stood frozen, unable to move. When she finally stood before him, she tilted her head slightly. "You spoke boldly," she said, her voice sharp, but almost curious. "No one has ever dared to joke with me, not even my own council." Her eyes narrowed, scanning him as if reading his soul. "But you, a human, dared to speak without fear." Alex forced himself to speak, his voice shaky but steady enough. "I only said what I thought," he replied, "and maybe I was trying not to die." For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. It was not warm, but it was dangerous, like a predator amused by its prey. "You interest me, Captain Alex," she said. "You will stay here by my side until I decide your fate." The guards moved forward, ready to take him, but she raised her hand again, stopping them. "No chains," she commanded. "He walks as a guest." Whispers filled the hall. A guest, not a prisoner. A human treated with honor. This had never happened before in the history of her reign. Alex's mind spun with questions. Why was she doing this? Why did she say yes? What did she see in him? Was this the start of a trap or the start of something far greater? The queen turned and began walking back to her throne. Her voice echoed through the hall. "From this day, the human will remain in the palace, under my protection." The ministers bowed, but their faces showed anger and fear. The guards obeyed, but their eyes glowed with hatred. Alex stood in the center of the hall, every alien eye locked on him. He felt like a small fish thrown into the middle of an ocean full of sharks. But he also felt something else, a strange pull, a dangerous curiosity about the queen who had just claimed him. And deep inside, he knew one thing. This was only the beginning. His life would never be the same again. The proposal game. The palace was restless. After the queen's shocking words, the whole empire buzzed with rumors. A human chosen by their ruler. It sounded impossible. It sounded dangerous. Captain Alex walked beside alien guards through endless shining halls. Walls glowed with blue crystals. Strange shadows danced on the floor. He could feel every eye watching him, some curious, some filled with hate. He tried to stay calm, but inside his mind raced. What game was the queen playing, and why him? Soon the guards stopped before a giant door carved with alien runes. It opened slowly, and inside was the queen herself, standing tall. She dismissed the guards with a wave of her hand. Only Alex and Lyra remained in the chamber. Her gaze pierced him, sharp and powerful. "You are bold," she said. "No one has ever spoken to me that way." Alex tried to smile, though his heart pounded. "Bold or stupid," he replied. "Sometimes they are the same thing." Her lips curved slightly as if amused, but her eyes stayed cold. "You think I said yes as a joke," she continued, "but I am serious, Captain." The words struck Alex like lightning. He stared at her, not sure if he should laugh or be terrified. "Why?" he asked. "Why would the Queen of 1,000 Worlds want a human?" Lyra stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. "I do not want a weak husband," she said. "My council wants me tied to a general, or a warlord, or some cold ruler." She leaned closer, her voice low and dangerous. "But I want something else, something unpredictable, something alive." Alex swallowed, realizing she meant every word. "But you don't know me," he said carefully, her eyes narrowed, glowing faintly. "That is why you will be tested," she declared. "If you survive, you will stand by my side, not as prey, but as my chosen." His blood ran cold. "What kind of test?" he asked. The queen turned and clapped her hands. The chamber wall shifted, revealing a glowing arena below. Creatures roared in the shadows. The sound made his bones shake. "This," she said, her voice echoing, "the proposal game." She looked at him with a dangerous smile. "If you want to live, if you want to prove yourself worthy, you must play." Alex stared into the arena, the smell of smoke and blood rising from below. He saw shadows moving, too fast, too big to be normal beasts. "Wait," he said. "This looks less like a game, more like execution." Lyra's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Marriage to me is not easy," she replied. "You must earn the right to stand beside me." Two guards pushed Alex forward, but he lifted his hand. "Fine," he said, forcing courage into his voice. "But tell me, if I win, what then?" Lyra leaned closer, her whisper like fire against his ear. "If you win, you may call yourself my husband." The words froze his breath. He looked at her, at the impossible deal. One step forward meant death. One victory meant power beyond imagination. The crowd gathered above the arena, shouting, screaming, ready for blood. The queen raised her hand, and silence fell. "Let the proposal game begin," she commanded. The gates below opened with a roar. 3 alien beasts, massive and armored, charged into the arena. Their teeth glistened, their eyes burned red. Alex was thrown a strange weapon, a blade glowing with alien energy. He caught it, his hands shaking. He looked at the monsters, then up at the queen. She sat on her throne again. Watching with calm eyes, she wanted to see if the human could survive, if he was worth her yes. Alex took a deep breath, gripping the blade tight. His heart thundered, but his eyes sharpened. "If this is the game," he muttered, "then I will play." The beasts roared and charged. The arena shook. The queen leaned forward, her eyes locked only on him, and the game began, the queen's test. The arena shook under the roars of the alien beasts. 3 massive creatures circled Captain Alex, each one bigger than a tank. Their armored skin glowed with strange symbols. Their teeth dripped with acid. The crowd above screamed for blood, chanting for the human's death. Alex tightened his grip on the glowing blade. His heart pounded, but his mind sharpened. Running was useless. Begging would be weakness. The queen was watching, and he knew this was no game. This was his test, his life, his future. The first beast lunged, its jaw wide enough to crush him in one bite. Alex rolled aside, the ground cracking where the monster landed. He slashed with the alien blade, sparks flew, but the creature's skin was too hard. The crowd laughed, calling him weak, calling him doomed. But Alex was not just fighting with strength, he was fighting with human cleverness. He noticed something. The glowing symbols on the beast's body flickered when it attacked. Weak spots, he thought. There must be a pattern. He dodged another strike, rolling into the sand, scanning every move, every glow. The second beast charged, horns sharp as steel. Alex ran straight at it. The crowd gasped. At the last moment, he slid under its belly, driving the blade into a glowing mark. The beast screamed, collapsing as fire exploded from the wound. The hall shook with shock. The human had killed one. Queen Lyra leaned forward on her throne, her eyes glowing with interest. Her lips curved, the faintest smile. He was not prey, not yet, but there were still 2 beasts left. The third one opened its mouth and spat burning. Acid. Alex dove behind a broken stone pillar, the acid melting it in seconds. He breathed hard, sweat dripping. "One mistake and I'm gone," he muttered. The second beast attacked, but Alex used its weight against it. He ran toward the acid spit, dodged left, and the acid struck the charging monster instead. Its skin melted, and it crashed to the ground screaming. The crowd fell silent. No laughter now, only shock. Alex turned, face covered in dust and blood. One beast left, the biggest one, its eyes glowing red with rage. It circled him slowly, intelligent, not reckless like the others. Alex tightened his grip, every muscle ready. This was the final strike. The beast lunged, claws sharp as swords. Alex waited just 1 second longer than fear allowed. Then he leaped forward, blade raised high. He struck the glowing symbol at its neck. The blade cut deep. Light exploded. The monster fell with a thunderous crash, dead. The arena fell silent. Every alien stared down in disbelief. The human had done the impossible. 3 monsters, alone, with no armor, no training, and yet he stood, still breathing, still alive. Queen Lyra rose from her throne. Her voice echoed across the hall. "The first trial is complete," she declared. "The human lives." The crowd erupted, half in rage, half in awe. Some shouted to kill him anyway. Others whispered that maybe he was chosen. Alex stood tall, trying to hide how close to death he felt. He looked up at the queen, meeting her eyes. He saw not just curiosity now, but something else. Respect. But the test was not over. Lyra raised her hand and the arena floor shifted. The ground cracked open, revealing stairs leading into darkness. She looked at him, her voice calm but sharp. "You have passed strength. Now you must face mind." Alex breathed hard. "What do you mean?" he asked. Lyra's eyes glowed. "You must survive the illusions of the chamber," she said. "Face not only beasts of flesh, but beasts of fear." The guards surrounded him, pushing him toward the stairs. The crowd whispered. This was the true test. Even strong warriors had gone mad inside the chamber of illusions. Alex clenched his fists, every step echoing into the dark. As he disappeared below, Lyra sat again, her gaze never leaving him. For the first time, her heart beat faster. No one had surprised her like this human. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "Perhaps you are different." The chamber doors slammed shut. Darkness swallowed Alex, and the second trial began. Secrets of the Queen. The Chamber of Illusions tested Captain Alex in ways no blade could. Shadows turned into his dead comrades. Voices whispered his fears. He faced monsters made of memory and lies shaped into fire. But he survived, bruised in body, scarred in mind, yet still alive. When he finally climbed out of the dark chamber, the crowd waited. Some expected him broken, some expected him mad. But Alex walked tall, his eyes steady, his breath strong. And in that moment, even his enemies began to fear him. The Queen rose from her throne, her eyes locked on him. "2 trials, and yet you stand," she said, her voice echoing. "No human has ever lasted this long." She signaled the guards. "Bring him to my private chamber." The guards obeyed, though their faces were sour with anger. Alex followed, every step heavy, his body aching but his mind alert. He knew this was not the end, it was only the beginning. Inside the Queen's chamber, the air was thick with strange perfumes. The walls shimmered with alien paintings, telling stories of wars and victories, but Alex's eyes were fixed only on the Queen. She dismissed the guards, leaving them alone for a long meant silence ruled. She studied him, as if weighing every breath he took. Then she spoke, her voice softer than before. "You wonder why I said yes," she said. "You wonder why I chose you instead of a warlord or a king." Alex nodded slowly, his voice calm. "Yes, because it makes no sense." Her eyes darkened, and for the first time he saw something unexpected. Not power, not cruelty, but pain. "My council wants me bound," she said. "They want me to marry a general, to tie me to endless war." She turned away, her cloak shining like liquid fire. "They want me to be a symbol, a weapon, not a queen with a will of her own." Alex frowned, listening carefully. "You chose me to rebel against them?" he asked. She turned back, her eyes burning. I chose you because you are different, she said. You do not fear me the way they do. You do not see me as just a crown, but as a woman. The words struck him like thunder. He had joked, half in desperation, but now it carried a weight he had never imagined. He saw her not as a monster, but as someone trapped by power, and maybe that was what she wanted. Not a servant, not a pawn, but someone who could break her chains. But before Alex could answer, a sound echoed outside. The chamber doors shook with the force of fists pounding. A voice shouted in the alien tongue, sharp with rage, the Queen's counsel demanding entry. Lyra's eyes turned cold again. They fear you now, she whispered. They think I am weak for entertaining a human. They think I have lost control. Her hand brushed the edge of her blade, hidden under her gown. If they enter, they will try to kill you. Alex's blood ran cold. And what will you do? He asked. She stepped closer, her eyes only inches from his. I will protect what is mine, she said, her voice low and dangerous. The doors burst open. Council guards stormed in, armored and armed. Behind them came the High Minister, his voice sharp with venom. This must end, Queen Lyra, he shouted. You cannot choose a human. The people will never accept it. The guards raised their weapons at Alex, but the Queen moved first. Her sword flashed, faster than sight. In a single strike, 2 guards fell. Their armor split open, the chamber filled with cries and chaos. Alex stood frozen, watching the storm unfold. The Queen was not only powerful, she was merciless. Yet in her fury, she stood in front of him, shielding him with her own body, like a lioness guarding her chosen mate. The High Minister screamed, "This is madness. He will destroy us all." But Lyra raised her blade, her eyes burning like fire. "Silence," she roared. "The human is under my protection. Challenge him, and you challenge me." The room shook with her power, her voice like thunder. The council fell silent, trembling. Alex realized the truth. She had not only chosen him, she had declared war against her own council for him. And deep inside, he wondered, was he her savior or her weapon? Had he gained her heart, or just become a piece in her dangerous game? The Queen looked back at him, her eyes unreadable. "Now you know my secret," she whispered. "But secrets have power, and power always demands a price." The human heart. The chamber still smelled of blood. The fallen guards lay on the floor. The sea. Council forced back by the Queen's blade, Alex stood in silence, his heart racing, his mind burning with questions. Why would the most feared ruler in the galaxy risk everything for him? When the doors finally closed and the noise faded, Queen Lyra turned to him. Her eyes glowed faintly, not with rage, but with something different. "You see now," she said softly, "my enemies sit not across the stars, but inside my own palace." Alex breathed hard, his voice steady, though inside he was shaken. "Then why choose me? Why place me at the center of your storm?" Lyra's gaze softened for a moment. "Because you are not like them," she said. "You speak to me as if I am human, not a throne, not a crown." Her words struck deep. He had seen her power, her cruelty. But beneath it all, he now saw a loneliness. The weight of a crown that crushed even the strongest spirit. And for the first time, he felt not just fear of her, but something else. Pity, respect, maybe even connection. Later that night, Alex was taken to a private guest chamber. It was lavish, filled with alien silks and glowing lamps, but he could not rest. He replayed every moment, every word. He was alive, but now tied to a queen who could destroy him with a glance. Hours passed, the night deepened, and then he heard it, a faint sound, a shadow moving across the chamber wall. Instinct made him roll aside just as a blade stabbed down where he had been. An assassin cloaked in black lunged at him. Alex grabbed a broken lamp and swung hard, knocking the figure back. The assassin hissed in alien tongue, then leapt again, dagger flashing. Alex fought desperately, blocking with whatever he could. The blade cut his arm, blood spilled, but he held his ground. Before the assassin could strike again, the chamber doors burst open. Queen Lyra strode in, her eyes burning like fire. With one strike of her hand, energy crackled. Through the air, the assassin flew across the room, crashing lifeless against the wall. Silence fell, Alex breathing hard, his arm bleeding. Lyra stepped closer, her gaze sharp and cold. "They are already moving against you," she said. My counsel will not stop until you are gone. Alex looked at her, his voice low. Then why not let them win? Why risk yourself for me? Her eyes softened again, rare and dangerous. Because for the first time, someone looked at me not as a queen, but as a woman, she said. And I will not let that be taken away. Her hand brushed his wound, alien energy sealing the cut. The warmth of her touch sent a strange shiver through him. She had been his enemy, his captor, his trial. But now, she was something far more complicated. For a long moment, they stood in silence. Her eyes locked on his, fierce but vulnerable, and Alex realized something frightening. He was not only fighting for survival anymore, he was being pulled into her heart, into her world, into her war. The next day, rumors spread like fire across the empire. Whispers of a human who survived the queen's trials, whispers of assassins failing to kill him, whispers that the queen herself had protected him. The people were divided. Some called him a symbol of madness, others a symbol of destiny. But all agreed on one thing: the human had become impossible to ignore. That evening, Lyra summoned Alex again, this time not to her throne, not to her council chamber, but to her garden, a secret place where glowing trees lit the night. There, away from eyes and ears, she spoke quietly. You said humans know love, she whispered. Tell me, what is it? Alex hesitated, unsure if this was another test, but her face was calm, her voice steady. So he told her, in simple words, about families that stood together, about bonds beyond power, about choosing someone not for politics, not for control, but for heart. Lyra listened in silence, her eyes reflecting the alien starlight. To her people, love was weakness, a distraction. But as Alex spoke, she felt something she had never felt before, a pull not of power, but of longing. When he finished, she stepped closer. Her hand touched his face lightly. For a human, you are dangerous, she whispered, because you make me want something I was never meant to have. And just as Alex tried to answer, a shadow moved beyond the glowing trees. The sound of steel whispered in the dark. More assassins waiting for the right moment to strike. The queen's eyes narrowed, her voice sharp with fury. They will not stop, she said. They will come again and again until one of us is dead. Alex clenched his fists, his voice low and firm. Then let them come, he said. I won't run. The queen's lips curved into the faintest smile, not of amusement, but of respect. Perhaps, she whispered, perhaps you are more than I thought. But in the shadows the assassins prepared, and the night of blood was only beginning. War of choices. The night of the garden attack left its mark. The assassins had failed, their bodies scattered among the glowing trees, but the message was clear. The council would not stop. They would rather destroy their own queen than let a human stand beside her. At dawn, the palace trembled with noise. War drums echoed through the halls. Alien banners were raised. The council had summoned armies loyal to them. Outside the city walls, thousands of soldiers marched. Their voices thundered with one demand. The human must die. Alex stood on a balcony, staring at the rising storm. He had fought monsters, illusions, assassins. But this was different. This was war. His blood chilled as he realized one choice could set two civilizations on fire. Queen Lyra entered, her cloak flowing behind her like a storm. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with rage. The council moves against me, she said. They will strike before nightfall. Alex turned to her, his voice steady. Then we fight. But Lyra shook her head. It is not so simple, she whispered. If I choose you, the empire splits, civil war begins, millions will die. She stepped closer, her voice low and sharp. If I cast you away, the war ends, but I lose myself. Alex felt the weight of her words. It was not only his life at risk, but entire worlds. He looked at her, searching for an answer, but there was none without blood. Before he could speak, a messenger guard rushed in. The human fleet approaches, he shouted. Alex's chest tightened. His people had come, ready for battle. If they saw alien armies outside the city, they would strike without warning. Now two wars were ready to ignite. Aliens against aliens, humans against the empire. And Alex stood at the center of it all. Lyra walked to the window, staring at the horizon where human warships glowed in the sky. Her voice was almost a whisper. "You must choose, Alex," she said. "Stand with me, and we burn this empire to rebuild it. Stand with your people, and I will be forced to destroy you." The words cut deep. He had survived trials, won her respect, even touched her heart. But now he faced the truth. There was no safe choice, only sacrifice. The palace shook again as a distant explosion thundered. The council armies had begun their siege. Walls cracked, towers burned. Alien citizens screamed in the streets, running from fire. Alex gripped the alien blade still at his side. His voice was low, firm. "Then I stand with the one who stood with me." Lyra turned, her eyes wide for just a moment. Then she smiled, dangerous and fierce. "Then let us show them," she said. "Let us show them what it means to defy fate." Together they marched into the war chamber. The generals stared, shocked to see the human at her side. Some spat in anger, others bowed in fear. Lyra slammed her hand on the war table. "Prepare the defenses," she commanded. "This city will not fall." The battle began before sunset. Flames lit the skies. Alien warships clashed above. On the ground, soldiers armed the gates. Alex fought at Lyra's side, every strike of his blade drawing more awe. The human who should have been prey fought like a lion, unpredictable, clever, fearless. But for every victory, another danger grew. The council had one last weapon. The High Minister himself stood on the battlefield, his voice carried like thunder, his hands crackling with alien energy. "Traitor Queen," he roared, "you will die with your pet." The armies froze, silence before the storm. Lyra raised her blade, Alex stood beside her, and the final clash began. The final answer. The battlefield burned under two suns. Smoke rose in black rivers, the sky alive with fire from ships above. The council's army thundered forward, chanting for blood. The human fleet hovered on the horizon, ready to unleash destruction. And in the center of it all stood Alex and Queen Lyra, side by side. The High Minister raised his staff, energy crackling like lightning. "You are no queen," he roared. "You are a slave to a human." The crowd of soldiers growled in agreement, but Lyra's eyes never wavered. She lifted her blade and pointed it at him. "No, I am a queen who chooses for herself," she said. The armies clashed again, metal against metal, fire against fire. Alex fought fiercely, his blade cutting through alien armor. Every strike echoed louder than the drums of war. Soldiers began whispering, "The human fights like 10. Even his enemies hesitated, fear creeping into their eyes. The High Minister charged, power exploding from his staff. The ground cracked, towers shook. Alex dove aside, barely escaping the blast. Lyra met the minister head-on, blades clashing with sparks that lit the sky. They fought like titans, every strike shaking the battlefield. But the minister was strong, his energy attacks tearing through defenses. He drove Lyra back, her blade sparking under his power. Alex rushed for him, blocking a strike meant to kill her. The blast threw him across the ground, pain tearing through his chest. Still, he rose, coughing blood, his grip on the blade unbroken. The minister laughed. "This is the human you risked your empire for," he mocked. "A weak creature, a joke of flesh." Alex staggered, his body broken but his eyes sharp. "You call me weak," he said, "but weakness is what makes me human." The words cut deeper than his blade. The soldiers froze, listening. Alex shouted louder, voice carrying across the chaos. "You think strength is only power, armies and fear. But strength is standing when you should fall. Strength is protecting someone even when you are broken. That is what it means to be human." For a moment, silence covered the battlefield. Even the soldiers felt the weight of his words. Lyra's eyes widened, her heart racing. No general, no king had ever spoken like this. And now the human had turned the tide not with a weapon but with his voice. The minister roared in rage. "Words mean nothing," he screamed. He raised his staff for the final strike. But before he could bring it down, Lyra moved like lightning. Her blade pierced through his chest, shattering the staff. The High Minister gasped, his power exploding in light. And then he fell, silent, broken, defeated. The battlefield froze. The council's army stood in shock, their leader gone. Above, the human fleet held fire, waiting. Lyra lifted her blade high, her voice thundering across the war-torn land. "The human is my chosen," she declared. "Any who defy him defy me." The soldiers dropped their weapons, bowing in fear. The fires slowly died. The drums fell silent. For the first time, the Empire had no war to fight, only a new question to answer. Alex stood beside her, his body bleeding, but his spirit unbroken. He had survived beasts, illusions, assassins, and war. And now he stood not as a prisoner, not as prey, but as the chosen of the alien queen. Lyra turned to him, her eyes softer now, but still sharp with fire. "You spoke of love," she whispered. "Maybe I begin to understand." Her hand brushed his, and for a moment the galaxy seemed silent, but deep inside both knew the war was not over. The council was broken, but not destroyed. The humans had paused their attack, but trust was fragile, and whispers spread already through the Empire. A queen and a human, bound together. Would this be peace, or would it be the beginning of a greater storm? Alex looked at her, his voice steady. "This is only the start," he said. Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes blazing with promise. "Yes, husband," she whispered. "Now let us see if the galaxy is ready for us."